In 1570, a rabbi in Safed completes a diagram that looks nothing like theology. Isaac Luria sketches what appears to be an anatomical chart, beard hairs numbered 1 through 13, each labeled with a Hebrew word. Channels of mercy, he writes. His students lean closer. They're not looking at religious art. They're looking at a schematic, a blueprint for how infinite power flows into finite reality without incinerating it. This is Arich Anpin, the long face, and it solves a problem that's haunted philosophy since humans first imagined gods. How does something infinite touch something finite without destroying it? How does a light bright enough to obliterate existence manage to illuminate a flower? The answer Kabbalah proposes isn't metaphor. It's engineering. The name itself carries power compressed into 2 Aramaic words. Arich Anpin, literally long face, but the Aramaic does something Hebrew can't quite capture. Arich means extended, stretched, patient. Anpin means face, but also countenance, presence, the mask divinity wears to meet creation. And here's where it twists. Long nose in ancient Hebrew idiom means something specific. Long breath, slow to anger, the opposite of the short, sharp exhalations of rage. Picture someone furious, breathing fast and shallow through their nose. Now picture someone centered, patient, breathing deep and slow. That breath, that extension, becomes the first attribute of divine mercy listed in Exodus 34, Arich Anpin, slow to anger. But in the Zohar, composed in 13th century Spain and written as if Moses de Leon is channeling 2nd century mystics, this patient breath becomes a cosmic function. The long face isn't a personality trait God has. It's a structural necessity. Because what Kabbalah confronts head-on is this: if God is infinite and God wills creation into being, that will should be infinite too. Absolute. The kind of force that doesn't create a universe, it overwhelms the very concept of universe. Creation shouldn't exist. It should be drowned in the light of its own cause, unless something mediates. Unless something extends that infinite will through stages, through filters, through, and this is where it gets wild, through divine anatomy. Keter sits at the top of the Kabbalistic tree, the crown of emanation, the first response to the ultimate divine essence that transcends all structure. And Keter isn't simple. It doesn't just sit there radiating. It develops into 2 partsufim, 2 configurations, 2 faces of divine function. The inner face is Atek Yomin, the Ancient of Days, identified with Ta'anug, divine delight, the pleasure God takes in the idea of creation. Before will, before decision, there's enjoyment. Delight in possibility itself. And then that delight crystallizes into Arich Anpin, the outer extension, the face turned toward creation, the will that makes it so. If Atik is, I want this, Arich is, let it be. The long face is divine volition made operational. And here's the genius of the system. These aren't separate entities. They're dimensions of the same principle. The way a person's desire and their decision to act are distinct yet inseparable. But even that's not the full picture. Keter splits further into 3 heads, 3 Reshon, each a nested level of consciousness. The unknowable head, Resha Dalo Itiada, too transcendent to grasp, the source of faith because it precedes all comprehension. The head of nothingness, Resha Dayin, the interior space where delight arises from absolute void, and the head of the extended one, Resha Darich, the outward-facing will that begins the cascade into creation. Isaac Luria, working in Safed 3 centuries after the Zohar's composition, systematizes this into 6 primary partsufim, turning what was poetic mysticism into something approaching theoretical physics. He maps flows of light, describes processes of tzimtzum, divine contraction, the withdrawal that creates space for the universe. And Arich Anpin becomes the primary conduit. The long breath, the patient descent of infinity into form. Picture it as voltage, pure divine light, the Ein Sof, the infinite, carries enough charge to obliterate anything it touches. Creation can't survive direct contact. So Arich Anpin acts as the cosmic transformer. The beard, yes, the beard is critical here, becomes a system of resistors, 13 channels that step down the current. This isn't poetry. This is how the Kabbalists describe it. The Dikna, the beard of Arich Anpin, sprouts 13 distinct sections, each corresponding to one of the 13 attributes of mercy. Exodus 34 lists them after Moses ascends Sinai a second time. The Lord, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abundant in kindness and truth, preserver of kindness for thousands of generations, forgiver of iniquity, transgression, and sin. Each phrase becomes a filtration stage. The hairs of the beard, siarot in Hebrew, perform tzimtzum at the micro level. Each hair is a constriction point where infinite light narrows, dims just enough to become bearable. The middle section, the seventh attribute, emet, truth, is the part of the face uncovered by hair. Here the light shines unfiltered, but by the time it reaches this point, it's already been conditioned by 6 prior stages. Truth, the Kabbalists say, is that which continues unchanged. The midpoint of mercy is where divine light passes through without alteration, but only because the structure around it has made that transmission safe. Lurianic Kabbalah adds another layer. The beard's channels don't just filter, they correct. Tikkun, rectification, repair. The shattered vessels of earlier creation attempts, the primordial catastrophe that scattered divine light into the husks of materiality, all that damage gets addressed by the beard's mercy. Each hair is a repair protocol running constantly, adjusting flow, preventing overload. When you hear a cantor chant the 13 attributes during the high holy days, when the congregation repeats, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, they're invoking these channels. They don't know they're praying to the cosmic transformer. They don't know mercy has a beard. But the structure is there, encoded in the words themselves. But Arich Anpin doesn't work alone. Its counterpart, its micro-expression, is Zeir Anpin, the short face, the small countenance. If Arich embodies the extended patience of Keter descending through all reality, Zeir represents the immediate divine presence in the emotional Sephirot, the 6 qualities of divine personality that humans can actually relate to: Chesed, kindness; Gevura, severity; Tiferet, beauty; Netzach, eternity; Hod, splendor; Yesod, foundation. These are the attributes that interact with creation moment by moment, that respond and react, that shape history. Zeir Anpin breathes short. Quick to respond, immediate, the face God wears when engaging with the moment-to-moment drama of existence. It's not impatient in the petty sense, it's responsive. Where Arich extends mercy across epochs, Zeir executes justice and compassion in the now. The relationship between them is enclothement, hit lab shut. Kabbalistic technical term for how a higher level nests inside a lower level like a soul in a body. Arich Anpin, the big face, enclothes itself within Zeir Anpin, the little face, the way overarching intention animates specific actions. Your decision to be patient, Arich, manifests through your moment-to-moment choices not to react angrily, Zeir. Scale that up to cosmic proportions, and here's where it gets dizzying. Both faces are present simultaneously at every level of reality. The 4 worlds of Kabbalistic cosmology, Absolute, emanation; Bariah, creation; Yetzirah, formation; Asaya, action, each contains the full structure. Arich and Zeir, the beard's 13 channels, the entire apparatus, all present but increasingly concealed as you descend through the worlds. By the time you reach our material world, Asaya, the structure is so buried under layers of physicality that only revelation and mystical training can perceive it. But it's still there. Filtering. Extending patience and mercy through every instant, because without it, the raw infinity of the divine would collapse the universe back into non-existence. Artists who never studied Kabbalah somehow touch this structure. William Blake paints The Ancient of Days in 1794, an old man with a compass, measuring out the cosmos from behind clouds, white hair and beard streaming. He's illustrating Proverbs, but the image captures Atik Yomin, the interior delight behind Arich Anpin's extended will. Blake doesn't use the Hebrew terms, but the visual grammar is there. The aged face, the creative act mediated through geometric precision, the sense of deliberate restraint keeping infinity in check. Dante's Paradiso describes nested spheres of heaven, each containing the next, and at the center the empyrean, the still point around which everything turns. Different theology, same intuition, reality is layered emanation, and there's an architectural logic to how transcendence interfaces with immanence. Modern Kabbalah popularizers, Madonna's red string phase, the Matrix invoking the Sephirot in weird ways, they grab for the tree of life imagery without understanding the Partsufim. They want the aesthetic of cosmic structure without doing the work of tracking the flows, which is how you get coffee table books with beautiful diagrams that explain precisely nothing about why the beard matters. But sometimes pop culture gets closer than it knows. Neon Genesis Evangelion splits its cosmology between Adam and Lilith, two primordial beings with different forms of consciousness and will. Adam seeds the angels, transcendent, alien, overwhelming. Lilith seeds humanity, immanent, comprehensible, embodied. The entire plot hinges on managing the conflict between these two modalities of existence. Hideaki Anno didn't set out to animate Lurianic Kabbalah, but he reinvented the Arich dynamic, the tension between overwhelming divine power and survivable human presence. Video games treat the Kabbalistic tree as a combat system. Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, Final Fantasy, bosses arranged according to Sephirotic positions, their powers corresponding to emanations. They collapse the subtlety into hit points and status effects, but they're not wrong to sense that this is a system, a structure with rules and interactions. They just missed that the original Kabbalists weren't designing a game. They were reverse engineering reality. Here's what haunts the whole system: the insistence on absolute unity. The Zohar, the Lurianic texts, every Kabbalistic source worth reading repeats this like a mantra. There is no duality in God, no plurality, no division. The Partsufim aren't separate beings. The faces aren't masks hiding a real identity. The 13 channels of the beard aren't distinct streams of mercy. From below, from the perspective of created beings struggling to comprehend, it looks like multiplicity. 10 Sephirot, 12 Partsufim, 13 attributes, 4 worlds, 5 levels of soul. The structure appears complex because finite minds need structure to grasp what's fundamentally structureless. But trace it back. Follow any channel upstream toward its source, and it collapses into unity. The Ein Sof, the infinite before Tzimtzum, contains no differentiation whatsoever. The faces appear only after the contraction that creates space for creation. Before that, nothing. Not empty nothing, but the nothing that precedes existence itself, the Ayin, from which the will to create emerges. So Arich Anpin's extended patience, the beard's 13 mercy channels, the interplay of big face and little face, all of it is simultaneously real as experienced structure and illusory from the perspective of ultimate truth. The Kabbalists hold both views at once without flinching. Yes, the mechanics are real. Yes, the source transcends all mechanics. Both are true. This is the consciousness of Absolute, the highest world, where everything perceives its own nullification within the divine source. No independent existence, only participation in unity. Lower worlds, our world, experience separation, individuality, the illusion of standing apart from God. But that illusion is necessary for creation to feel like creation, for choice to mean anything, for time to have direction. And through it all, Arich Anpin descends immanently as the concealed substratum, the patient intention holding reality together. The long breath that never stops, the extension of mercy that outlasts every catastrophe, the divine will maintaining the delicate balance between total presence and total absence. Isaac Luria dies in 1572, 2 years after completing his system. His students compile his teachings, try to preserve the complexity of what he taught in fire-lit rooms and safed. They write about the beard, the faces, the enclothements, and they know how it sounds. They know it reads like mythology, like anthropomorphism run wild, like they've taken the abstract god of Maimonides and given him hair and breath and a long nose. But they're not describing God's body. They're describing the interface, The way infinity configures itself to touch finitude, the cosmic wiring that keeps existence from shorting out. And when you hear those 13 attributes chanted during the High Holy Days, when the congregation repeats those ancient words from Exodus 34, remember, you're invoking the beard, the structure of mercy, the channels that filter infinite light into bearable presence, the long breath of divine patience that's been sustaining reality since before time began. The long face isn't sad. It's not patient because it's enduring something difficult. It's patient because patience, extension, deliberate modulation, the art of stepping down cosmic voltage, is the mechanism that allows anything to exist at all. That's not metaphor. In Kabbalah's view, that's how it works. The universe survives because God knows how to breathe slowly.